Mayu, which was from Chile.
Wasn't it the Pecorino or something like that?
Yeah, but that wasn't Sauvignon Blanc.
And we just had one last Friday, didn't we?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, New Zealand. Duh. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that already.
The Mayo and then the Nelson.
Yeah, Middle Earth. Okay, Jay's right. So this is our third Sauvignon Blanc, but they're all three from unique places, so it'll be cool to compare them, you know, as you see, like.
I've got to get another Middle Earth. I've got a friend who's a real Tolkien fan.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be fun to give it to him.
Yeah, for sure. We got 4 or 5 cases, so plenty to go around for him. But yeah, I guess one thing that is kind of funny about all 3 of the ones we've done, including this one, is that they're all from the Southern Hemisphere.
Cool.
Yeah, so maybe we need to do a Sancerre. Jay's like, no more way.
I thought you talked it up so much that we gotta have it.
Well, you know, it's funny, actually. When I moved to Wyoming and started working here at this store, it actually struck me how much Sauvignon Blanc we actually sell. It's a huge category for us, and I don't understand if it's I don't get it. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal where I came from in North Carolina. Like, you wouldn't focus on it, but for me, like, keeping that area full of wine is like one of the more difficult things that I do, just because it goes so quick. But this one I discovered, I want to say it was last summer, and a guy that represents an import company called Vino del Sol brought me this, and he tasted me like maybe 10 or 15 wines, and this really stood out for a number of reasons, but really just because of the crazy deliciousness factor for how cheap it was. I mean, we're selling this at $15, and it's coming all the way from Argentina. And I guess actually it's good to talk about what's going on in the world because it is a crazy time, but it's like an extra crazy time in Argentina because their government is like defaulting on their debts right now. And so they're having like a severe economic crisis that's going on, which is not a good thing, certainly. But one of the unintended consequences of that is cheap wines to America. So as their currency, their dollar value falls against the American dollar, like we have more buying power to buy wines from them, and they end up costing less. And so they actually, I was reading, they actually have, I think today actually was a day that they were supposed to have an agreement set with their creditors by, and it didn't happen. And so the government is like scrambling to basically issue more bonds and restructure the agreement on the bonds that they already have out, where they don't want to pay interest and they don't want to even start to repay back the money that they owe basically until the 22nd now. And so this isn't the first time for them in recent history that this has happened. Yeah, in 2001, they had the same problem, and it was like a really bad time down there. And actually, I've talked to quite a few Argentinians that have come to sell wine in America, and they talk about like what a disaster that was. They had like 5 presidents in 4 weeks because they just kept like getting overthrown, and there was like violent riots in the streets, especially in Buenos Aires, and like it was bad, you know. And it's a crisis, and it's not going away anytime soon. And so when you think about how you can help, here you go. Here's a great thing that we can do, you know, is buy some of their wines and talk about them, you know. So this particular winery called Wapisa, that is an Argentinian, it's an indigenous language term for whale. And so it's from Patagonia, which everyone in Jackson has heard of because of the clothing brand. And I've never been, but I really want to go. So Argentina is this like big, huge South American country, and it's a really long country like Chile. And most of the population lives in the northern part, but most of the wine comes from like the middle area, in an area that's centered around an area called Mendoza, and there's a couple of regions there. They mostly do Malbec and Reds from that area. And then if you go a little further south, you get down to Patagonia, which forever, and up until pretty like recent history was like an ice sheet. So like this is like pretty close to Antarctica when you think about it. Like if you look at a map, and like the maps that they show in America are all like splayed out to kind of make America look bigger and stuff. And so like you don't really think about it, but like this is about as far south as wines are made. And New Zealand is like really the other place that is this far south. And so the further south you go, obviously the further from the equator you get, the less hot it is. And so wine's an agricultural product, right? So you're growing grapes, and degree days of sun is like basically how you determine whether or not you could actually like get away with planting grapes and growing them. And then also elevation plays a big factor, which is why Wyoming doesn't grow grapes, or excuse me, why Wyoming doesn't grow a lot of grapes. And the only grapes really that grow in Wyoming are like all the way on the eastern side of the state, because we're pretty far north and we're high elevation, and we're kind of like, we're just in like a rain shadow or like a snow area. So that's, so when you think about Patagonia as this like beautiful, mountainous, rocky region, if you go way far south, but actually as a region, it goes almost to the middle of the country. And so Argentina is broken into provinces, and Wapisa is located in an area called Rio Negro. So it's like a state, if you will, but it's also a river. And so this particular winery is located on the banks of the Rio Negro, but the grapes don't grow on the property at the winery. And so it's actually, it's owned by a lady named Patricia Ortiz. And so Patricia is this kind of like a Renaissance woman down in Argentina. She was in the medical field for a long time. And then, let's see, it's like 14 years ago in 2017, so 2020. So like 17 years ago, she started investing in winery properties, and she bought a couple in Mendoza first. So the main growing area that they do, Malbec. She's got two wineries there. One's called Zolo, and one is called Tapiz. And I was looking them up, and Tapiz has this like swanky like club and spa that you can go stay at. So I reached out to them just in case, you know, we can never travel again to see, you know.
And it's,
Let them know that we're hyping their wines here in Wyoming, and then also be interested in a visit. But yeah, so she's got those two wineries. And then she did the Wapisa project down in Argentina, and that was, I think, the first vintage that came to America was 2017.
Yeah.
So, so it's 100% Sauvignon Blanc and all stainless steel production. So when they ferment, they do it in large stainless steel tanks, and then it ages in tank and goes right in the bottle. So it's clean, crisp, refreshing. And it's a low alcohol too, 12.5%, which I think is actually what Middle Earth had last week too, which is cool to see the comparisons. Like these are totally opposite ends of the world, but they're similar growing regions because how far south they are.
we're probably in more latitude.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's funny because Nelson's like at the top of the North Island in New Zealand.
Top of South Island. Yeah.
Right. But they're like up at the northern tip, and so like as you go further south, I said North Island, sorry, South Island, Jay's right. Argentina is like real long, you know, but I bet if you look, they're pretty similar because there's a lot further south that you can go. And they actually have glaciers and fjords, and it's like kind of similar, honestly, to like the Tetons. When you look at the rocks and the mountains there, I mean, they're like super impressive, and it's a big climbing destination. People really, you know, it's like a real outdoorsy kind of popular spot to go camping and mountaineering and things like that. So
Mendoza, at least, is right next to Chile too.
yeah, Mendoza is, and so so Wapisa is 12 miles from the Atlantic Ocean. So pretty far to the east of where Mendoza is, so it's southeast of there. But that's another cool thing to talk about is like this wine has like a great salinity to it. So it's like you taste it and it's got like, you can almost like taste like ocean kind of, like you ever like stand on the beach and you get the like salty spray or whatever?
Well, I mean, I've only been to the beach once my whole life. So,
What?
I mean, yes. Yeah, it was when I went to Oregon with my husband for a family reunion a couple of years ago. I'm going to go to the beach again when I go to Oregon next week. So,
Nice.
have fun.
Those are different style beaches. I've actually been to the beach in Oregon too. But like, if you ever go to a place that's warmer on the beach, I guess that's sort of what I mean. Like, I grew up in North Carolina. It's like super hot and muggy and humid, and the Atlantic coast there is like great white sandy beaches, and it's like 100 degrees all day in the summer. But there's definitely a coastal influence for this particular property, and that's also part of the reason why it's so cold down there. Because the oceans actually have a cooling influence on the inland areas, which is weird because you think of like beaches like super hot places, except you probably don't, Katie, because like when you went to the beach in Oregon, it probably wasn't like blazing hot.
Oh, no, it was freezing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, you don't even want to get in.
I couldn't get in the water, and the
Yeah.
wind was just nonstop. It was like more of like the northern part of Oregon, like towards Washington.
Sure.
So it was way colder.
Yeah, no doubt. And so like on the other coast, you know, like you have like all this continental hot middle of the United States. And so like you have all that hot air and the wind blows that direction. So it's like super hot on that side. But yeah, I was reading about the climate down there in this little town. The town's called Viedma, and it's like right on the river, right on the Rio Negro. There's like 40,000 people that live there, you know, so it's like a really small place. And Argentina is this like monster country. I looked it up. They only have 6,000 coronavirus cases there, so whatever they did, a little better than us, I guess. Yeah.
Pretty high.
Yeah, no kidding. And only 300 deaths attributed to the virus, which is crazy to think about. There's more in New Jersey. But yeah, for such a large area, you know, they seem to have handled it pretty well. So fingers crossed we'll be able to go visit pretty soon. I've always wanted to go because their seasons are opposite, and I like to ski. And so there's a place there called Catedral that's down in Patagonia. That's like the big Patagonian ski area. And so I could like do a double, you know, wine country ski trip. Not much
I was
So what
going
do
to
you
share my screen real fast.
Oh yeah.
Because it's in
Please do.
Patagonia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found a pretty decent looking map.
All right, do it to it.
Yeah. You guys see it?
Yes.
So it's, I'm assuming if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, it's right here in this region, right? So it's getting coastals from this side, but then it also has Mendoza over here.
Right. So see where it says Rio Negro next to like Quinn or whatever?
Yeah.
If you follow that down, go like almost all the way to the ocean. No, follow the river. See how the river's in there? It's like
Oh,
another
yeah.
river loop. You follow that down to like, yeah, basically right there. That's where it is.
Oh.
And it's like 12 miles up the river there. So you can see where Buenos Aires is all the way up to the north. And I don't know if there's any scale on that for distance. Oh yeah, there is, but I can't read it.
No, it's
200.
500 kilometers is the big black one.
Yeah, I think
On the
so.
bottom. Yes, it's like 1,000 kilometers away, you know. Which,
so far.
yeah, that's a long drive.
What did you say, Jay?
It goes way farther. Argentina goes way farther south than that. Tierra del Fuego, all the way down.
Yeah, it just is this little clip here.
But yeah, and that map is cool because you can see the Andes. So that's the mountains that they have down there, and they're huge.
Yeah.
And they run pretty much the whole length all the way up of both countries. And it's cool because like they form the border, But you can see how most of the wine growing regions in Chile, they're all that green stuff there. Like as far south as you could possibly go in Chile's wine growing areas, like it's still a little bit further north than where this comes from. This is like the extremes of places that you can grow grapes. Like I've only seen a couple wines from Bio, and that last one, what does that say? Mayeco. I've never even seen any wines from there in America. That doesn't mean they're not here. In 15 years, I've never seen one.
A lot depends on the altitude where they are too, because of the mountains.
For sure.
They get too high, they can't.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're looking at 15,000 feet. There's peaks that high there.
Yeah, they're monsters.
Oh yeah. And like El Key at the far north is where that first Sauvignon Blanc we tried was from, in the green.
Oh,
Yeah, El Key. That's where the Mayu is from.
Mhm.
So that's like 1,500 kilometers apart. That's pretty far. Oh yeah, get us some pictures. Actually, if you type in Patagonia on Google, like some of the pictures that came up were like really like ultra jagged type.
I don't know how to spell
They don't even look like mountains. They're just like rocks sticking out of the ground.
Ooh, look at this.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That's so pretty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, look
Yeah.
at those.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice water there too.
Yeah.
Tierra del Fuego is way down here. Nope,
Oh wow,
not them.
very pointy.
Yeah, so that's like further south from the winery and definitely way west. I didn't really know that Patagonia was like such a big
Holy cow, look at this one.
province.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But they're
So
still,
our wine's like up by here,
Yeah,
right here.
totally. Kind of in the flats up there.
Huh.
Cool.
I want to go there.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
Let's see what else. Oh yeah. One other thing to note that I thought was pretty cool is she employs quite the winemaking team, and the main winemaker that makes the Tapiz also makes this wine, and he's got 30 years of experience working in wineries in Argentina. I forget his name. Let's see if I can drag that up. I think I closed that part already. But he worked at what's it called? At Susanna Balbo. And if you remember when we talked to the lady
there's
from,
a winemaker down there.
yeah, when we tasted
Thanks.
what's her name? What was the lady's name from that made the Cabernet Franc from Graffito?
I can see her face.
I know, right? I'm blanking on the name. I got it.
It's like Rose.
Jimena. So
Yeah.
Jimena worked at the same. She worked at the same winery at Susanna Balbo. I wonder if she knows this guy. She probably does, because he worked there for 20 years, and then he's also working at Catena, which is another really big winery outfit down there. And then they also pay a guy named Jean-Claude Berrouet, and he was the first winemaker at Chateau Petrus in Bordeaux. So Petrus that sells for thousands of dollars a bottle. He started there in 1964 at Petrus and made 44 vintages for them before he kind of retired. And now he consults, and he's got his own estate in Saint-Emilion, and then he also consults on this particular property. It's the only thing he does down in Argentina. So that's super cool to have somebody with so much pedigree come and help design the wineries and help lead the team to make the wines.
The stepmom's trying the wine too. She took
Nice.
for her room.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
No doubt. I really like it. I think it's super clean, super crisp.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Definitely.
too bad the weather didn't cooperate, but we'll have to get back to some reds. I know Daniel's been hating on the whites.
That was Jay.
Hey, I mean, you know,
Hey, no worries, because I kind of hate on the Reds. So.
hey, the road to hell's paved with good intentions. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I like
Both.
both.
White or red?
Yeah.
I don't know. It really just depends on the red. There's been like 1 or 2 reds that we tried that I did like, and then the other ones I'm just kind of like, no.
I'm telling you, you're developing your taste still.
I know. Like you said, so I have all of the wines that we've tasted so far, right? So when I come back from Oregon, I plan on having like a little wine tasting with my dad and my stepmom, and I'm gonna make my dad do it, and he's gonna enjoy it. So is my husband, but so that way I can like try them again, and I want to try to like research on like the different kinds of like cheese and food that would go good with the wines, and like just just try it out.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what wines. Yeah, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when it's free.
Yeah, exactly. I've got like
What better way to
bottles of
learn?
wine right now that I got for free. So
Hey, you know what? I can't believe more people that work here don't take advantage because
I know.
I was in your shoes at one point too. Like I didn't know anything about wine. I grew up in a house where nobody drank wine. Or like maybe my dad would get a bottle of wine occasionally, but I don't think he knew what he was doing, Or like he was like having fun like putting the bottle in the little chiller at the grocery store, then he was like drinking wine. And when I started drinking wine, I hated reds. Couldn't drink them. They're too tannic, so like dry the sides of your mouth out,
Yes,
And it's
that
like
is
real
the
harsh
issue I'm
and like
having.
seemed like I don't know, like I also grew up in the South where like everybody drinks sodas and sweet teas and stuff. So like wines are like the opposite kind of beverage. They're like no sugar, real tannic, real abrasive, especially reds. But yeah, it eventually came around.
Up in beer country. Yeah.
No doubt. Shout outs to beer. I still like beer too. I don't drink as much beer anymore now because we do these wine tastings. It's like there's no point in that.
I have a wine for you too. Americano Cabernet Franc.
Oh yeah, you asked me about that. I looked it up, but I couldn't find much.
Yeah, they used to have it at the Blue Lion. It was very affordable, and it was really good. It was the first time I had just a Cabernet Franc.
Do you know who makes it or where it's from?
Well, it's from California,
Okay.
and I think it's a couple of Italian guys making Americano, their vineyard.
Huh. Yeah, it's funny because I looked it up and I saw like one of the stores that comes to the big tastings that I go to twice a year in the Wine and Spirits Guild. They have one called Americana, but it's at Finger Lakes, New York, and I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you can, I wonder. I don't know who buys the wines over there.
It was really good, but
How long ago was this?
well, it's probably 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, okay, not terribly long. It's
Yeah,
fun. Wines come and go,
And I think it got dropped off to Wyoming. Yeah.
We'll have to do a little research and see. I mean, it's funny because I remember you talking about this before, and I checked it out, and like I literally couldn't find anything. Whereas that's the only thing I said that Americana. But this
That's
is
what I just
Americana.
looked for it and I couldn't find anything by that either.
Daniel, how'd it go?
Yeah, it was good. Nice, crisp, refreshing.
Yeah. Cigar.
Are you outside?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Man, it's so bright behind you.
Yeah, I know. It's like dark. I'm looking out the window and it looks
I
gloomy
know.
out there.
So bright behind him. Like,
Yeah.
I have a nice view of the mountains out here.
Ah.
I mean,
Yeah, let's see that.
yeah.
Mm,
all right.
Classy
Nice.
fella. Nice, no doubt. What's the cigar pairing of choice this evening?
so I went with a My Father Connecticut, something mild. Went overwhelmed with the wine.
Feel ya.
Nothing too crazy.
Etiquette, what is that? The type of leaf?
Connecticut, yeah, it's the type of leaf originally grown in Connecticut. The U.S. now grown. This one's from Ecuador.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So the filler binder, Nicaraguan, Connecticut leaf from Ecuador. Leaves a nice cedary, mild spice, coffee flavor.
Yeah. How much something like that go for?
$12 to $14.
Okay.
Do we sell it at TLS?
No.
We don't sell this one at TLS. We sell something similar.
What
Sell
do
the
you sell that's
Olivia
similar?
Connecticut at
Oh, yeah,
TLS,
it is.
Okay.
which is a very similar cigar to this. Rolled just down the road from where the cigar's rolled.
Oh, dope.
Cool.
Ecuador. Need to go there too. They don't have skiing though. It's kind of a drawback.
Born and Peru.
Yeah, a little bit of a drawback there. Yeah.
Fun
well,
place.
it's we got 3 minutes left. Any final thoughts anybody want to get in before we shut her down?
I think that I don't know. I'm not much of like a super wine person, but this is very calm and it's quite delicious, really.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't drink wine very often.
Smooth. I
Yes.
like it. Yeah, it goes down real nice.
Yes,
So
it does.
see, this is like fish.
You can tell it goes down real nice.
Yeah, you know, it's like I think like my local restaurant pairing that I would do with this is Fiesta's fish taco.
Oh, that
Fiesta's
sounds
right over
Yeah,
there.
definitely seafood with this.
The fried fish taco. Oh my
Ooh.
god, it's so
Oh,
good.
the big whole barbecues. There, that sandwich that you had that one day, Daniel, when
The
they bought
Cubano?
Yeah, I got that. That was so good.
Mm.
I think that'd be really good with this too.
Totally.
I think this would be good with shrimp ceviche.
Yeah.
Amanda,
Well, we'll have
take
to try it
Collins.
one day.
What was that?
Do you like it?
I love it. I tried it first right after I had ate some dark chocolate. And so after having the dark chocolate in my mouth, it was like, whoo, it was really zippy. And I was like, oh, now I know what they mean by that word zippy, because I was never like, oh, I've drinking a wine and that tastes zippy until tonight.
Sure.
But now that like I have it in my palate, it's like super easy drinking. Like I just want to throw it in my water bottle and go to the lake
Mm,
Right?
on a hot sunny day.
Totally. Totally.
no doubt.
I did pair it tonight with spinach enchiladas, spinach and cheese enchiladas, because I haven't done a vegetarian recipe.
Oh, is that Meal Prep Monday?
Yes.
Nice.
Honey.
I need to
So-
get in on that.
Little
I
bit
was
of
cooking up a
Monterey
storm.
Jack.
And
Yeah.
I'm like over it, man. I'm just like, I miss restaurants and I miss like,
We
Yes.
got to go Chinese tonight. It was
Oh.
wonderful.
I was pretty
I don't
sure
know.
that the restaurant, a couple restaurants in Afton opened because I had a couple friends who had posted about it, and I was like, "What? There's a restaurant open down there?"
really
Well,
like you can eat inside.
Yeah, like they
Yeah, I
got
think all the health orders for the state expired today. And then
Today?
Teton counties, I think they expire on the 15th.
On
Yep.
the 15th.
Or
Yeah,
at least
they're-
they're current through then. Who knows if they'll be extended.
Hey, well, at least it'll be right before I leave. So maybe I can go and get me some Chinatown or, Chinatown's bomb. I love their I love their that big drink that they have with the tequila. It's really good.
Fishbowl.
Yeah. And no, it's like the volcano one.
Oh, right.
The
The one
fire
with
in
like
the middle
four
of it.
straws.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, it's 9 o'clock.
Uh-oh.
I was happy to see all of you guys.
Call. We have to go before we turn into a princess slipper. Thanks for joining. Jay, I'll email you when I figure out what we're doing Friday, and everybody else we'll post on the website. And yeah, we'll get it going. See you then. Thanks for joining.
Awesome.
Bye.
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 Yeah.
Bye, girls.
All right, later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Kevin.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye, Tony. Daniel.
See you later, Jay.
Yep. Not tonight, though.
Yeah. See you Friday.
Yep.